Electricity demand led PLN to post slumping revenue. Wijaya Karya decided to postpone its subsidiary IPO plan. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of information from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Clara Antawijaya, and this is Market Headlines. And yes, viewers, let's take a throwback in the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic arose in Indonesia. There were large-scale social distancing and many industries went off, which led to low electricity demand. And this has caused national state-owned electricity company, or so-called SPLN revenue, to shrink up to 3 trillion rupiah for a month. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit Indonesia since the end of February 2020, has decreased economic activity, which heavily impacted to low electricity demand. Of course, this is hand in hand with state-owned electricity companies' lower revenue. President Director of PLN, Zulkifli Zaini, said electricity demand at the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic sharply decreased, so that the income from electricity, especially at that time of decrease to more than 10%. Zulkifli described that PLN's monthly income in 2019 could reach 25 trillion rupiah. But now, specifically, post large-scale social distancing, it decreased roughly 3 trillion per month. And as the result, PLN experienced revenue decrease to be only 22 trillion rupiah per month.
Secara keuangan, kalau misalnya di tahun lalu penerimaan revenue listrik kami itu per bulan sekitar 25 triliun rupiah, dengan COVID ini penerimaan listrik kami pada puncak COVID kemarin itu hanya 22 triliun rupiah. Jadi terjadi penurunan penerimaan listrik per bulan 3 triliun rupiah akibat COVID ini.
As large-scale social distancing is being loosened and the economy starts to move again, PLN admitted that electricity demand starts back to normal and is able to return the new which previously decreased. From Jakarta, Muhammad Olga for IDX Channel. Let's moving on to the news coverage regarding cigarette excise rates. The Ministry of Finance ensures that its increase in cigarette excise rates will be announced as early as the end of September 2020. The Director General of Customs and Excise explains that the higher cigarette excise has considered various factors.
The Ministry of Finance ensures that it will announce the imposition of new cigarette excise tariffs at the end of September. In a virtual press conference, Director General of Customs and Excise revealed that the Ministry of Finance has considered various factors in deciding the increase in cigarette excise next year. Several considerations include health factors, industrial growth, including the impact on tobacco and clove farmers, as well as the potential for illegal cigarettes. So that with the increase in the excise target next year, the cigarette excise rate will also increase.
Kalau secara historis, biasanya kita, Kementerian Keuangan mengumumkan akhir September atau awal Oktober. Saya kira ini akan konsisten dengan sebelum-sebelumnya. Tentunya dalam menentukan tarif kita selalu mempertimbangkan kesehatan ya, faktor kesehatan, industri termasuk petani, cengkeh, kemudian petani tembakau, penerimaan itu sendiri dan juga adanya potensi rokok ilegal.
Meantime, by July 2020, realization of customs revenues reached 109.06 trillion rupiah, or has reached 53.02% of the target. Compared to the same period last year, customs and excise revenues until July grew by 3.71%. This growth was driven by excise revenue, which rose 7.01%, where the excise on tobacco products at the end of July 2020 grew positively 8.09% or reached 85.55 trillion rupiah. From Jakarta, Fajar Wayong for IDX Channel.
And talk about investment relocations. Investment Coordinating Board is about to approach European investors to relocate their investment to Indonesia. And therefore, the board has formulated strategy to attract European investors, especially for German.
Investment Coordinating Board keeps approaching European investors to come to Indonesia. This is hand in hand with President's instructions to attract more investors by easing investment relocation. Therefore, the board facilitates the investors by providing end-to-end service for investment relocations. For example, board has cooperated with the Embassy of Republic Indonesia in Berlin to approach Germany's investment relocation. For this reason, various incentives and facilities are offered to increase Indonesia's competitiveness, especially in facing neighboring countries, such as tax holiday, tax allowance, import duty, incentives, and other conveniences.
Ya, kalau relokasi dari Jerman, kita bekerja sama dengan beberapa lembaga penelitian, KPMG misalnya. Mereka punya survei. Jadi, perusahaan Jerman yang ada di Cina, itu yang mau merelokasi, yang mau pindah keluar dari Cina, itu hanya 10%. Tapi dari 10% itu, 60%-nya menyatakan ingin pindah ke Asia Tenggara. Jadi ini peluang buat kita. Nah, kemarin itu 2 hari yang lalu kita adakan kerjasama dengan KBRI di Berlin, bekerjasama dengan KPMG juga, dan asosiasi-asosiasi pengusaha yang ada di Jerman untuk membahas hal ini. Kita bahas bagaimana sih strategi yang baik untuk bisa menggandeng perusahaan-perusahaan Jerman yang mau relokasi pabriknya di Cina bisa ke Indonesia.
Previously, government pushes much effort to attract investors from abroad who relocated their factories. From Jakarta, Ade Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
The Customs Director General claims to have made a number of efforts to reduce logistic costs, and one of them is through the National Logistic Ecosystem Program, which is expected to be able to make manufacturing industry survive amidst the pandemic.
The government admits that it continues to encourage the resilience of the manufacturing industry in the midst of pandemic and the onslaught of imported products, one of which is customs facilities to logistic ecosystem program, which was initiated to reduce the logistic cost. The Director General of Customs at the Ministry of Finance assessed that this step was taken to boost competitiveness in terms of expenditure, even though it did not directly encourage industrial growth, but he believes that the customs program had greatly helped the manufacturing industry in dealing with the COVID-19 crisis.
Logistik ekosistem atau logistik ini progresnya sangat bagus. Dan kami berharap ini bisa mengurangi logistik cost dari 24% sekarang menjadi di bawah 20%. Harapannya sama dengan Malaysia.
However, the challenges in the manufacturing industry are not easy. In the second quarter this year, all industry components were negative and manufacturing was among the most affected. From Jakarta, Fajar Wayong for IDX Channel.
Stay tuned on market headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.
Playbox, lebih dari sekedar Smart TV, more powerful. Nikmati lebih dari 5.000 aplikasi Android. 10.000 jam video on demand. Bisa nonton ulang hingga 7 hari ke belakang. Connect Vision Plus sekarang. nonton dimanapun, kapanpun. Tinggal connect internet hanya 100 ribuan per bulan. Nikmati bonus hingga 1,2 juta rupiah. Playbox, Beyond Smart TV.
Bagaimana outlook UMKM di 2020 ini, Pak Leona?
Saya ingin mengajak terutama anak-anak muda bagaimana caranya supaya nantinya ini bisa berkooperasi dengan baik. Dan ini sudah dimulai.
Nama saya Devisa Novel, jabatan saat ini di IDX Channel adalah sebagai produser dan sekaligus presenter program yang dibawakan saat ini dengan nama IDX Second Session Closing, terkait juga dengan kondisi capital market Indonesia dan perkembangannya dari waktu ke waktu. Dan saya sangat senang untuk belajar dan berkecimpung di berita ekonomi, khususnya di capital market. Senang sekali saya David San Oval dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesko adalah koperasi keren, baru, digital gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Welcome back to Market Headline. Over the first half of 2020 calendar year, Pertamina posted net loss of roughly 767 million US dollar. The company said so far the impact on its business from the coronavirus outbreak has been in maximum level as it has in hand with weak energy demand and prices.
Indonesia's largest oil and gas company, Pertamina, booked a 767 million US dollar net loss in the first half of the year amid weak energy demand and prices. The company's latest financial report shows that the performance in January-June period of this year makes a reversal of the profit of 659.96 million US dollar booked in the same period of last year. Hand in hand with a major loss, Pertamina's revenue plunged by 19.8% year-on-year to 20.48 billion US dollar. Largely driven by lower domestic fuel and crude oil sales as major Indonesian cities underwent large-scale social restrictions which curbing demand for transportation. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Pertamina activity is generally considered as essential activity by government, but however, operations have been increasingly difficult due to practical difficulties in many cases of social distancing. And the result is surprisingly very heavy. It took only 6 months for Pertamina to post significant loss. And to get a deeper view, let's see the next graphic about that. Here it is. We can see Pertamina financial record in the first semester. We can see the comparisons between first semester of 2019 and first semester of 2020, and the result quite significant. Can you imagine in 2019 Pertamina posted net revenue of 9 trillion rupiah, but however it deeply shrank into minus 11 trillion rupiah in 2020. But if we take a look at the trend, it is the global oil supply is in the midst of risk, and also global oil companies also fell down. Not even Pertamina, but also Saudi Aramco, Britain BP, and Chevron from the United States. Even Saudi Aramco fell by 50%. And meanwhile, Pertamina financial record in first semester is in the level of minus 11 trillion is also questionable. And to minimize the losses, Pertamina reduced total expenses by 14.1% year-on-year to be a really huge number. And large by cutting sales expenses, yet upstream-related expenses actually rose as the state-owned company strives to meet government oil and gas production's target. But Pertamina's loss is somehow undeniable. There is Indonesian's proverbs that is quite summarize Pertamina's conditions. It is fall down by and then hit by the stairs. It means that if you have misfortunes, that another misfortunes came at the same time. And Pertamina confirmed the situations as Fajria Usma, which is a VP Corporate Communications at Pertamina, say that Pertamina has gone through triple shocks. What is that? We can see through the next graphic. So here it is. We can assess what is triple shocks. Triple shocks that was called by Pertamina spokesperson is that the decline in world crude oil prices. We cannot even forget that the global oil prices was declining in the first pandemic of COVID-19 hit the world. First of all, we can see in April 2020, in April, the Brent crude oil is only $19 per barrel, but right now, as of Monday, through the data, we can assess that crude price oil bounced back again to be in the level of somehow roughly $40 per barrel. And the second one is that the decline in domestic fuel consumptions. We can see in here as in the beginning, in the early of COVID-19 pandemic hits Indonesia, government has made a large-scale social restrictions, and it's restricted the society movement, and the use of transportations make it really less than before in the normal conditions. And the decline in domestic fuel consumptions in here, when we talk about Pertamina doesn't even decrease the gas stations or even the supply of the oil and gas, because they want to serve the society with a huge amount of fuel consumptions. And the third one is that the weakening rupiah towards US dollar. And when we talk about currency, this hit the depreciations of rupiah towards US dollar amidst the pandemic. And Pertamina revenue plunged by 19.8% year on year to only $20.48 billion US dollar. And with all the triple shock, it's largely driven by the lower domestic fuel as the major Indonesian cities underwent large-scale social restrictions. As a result, it's curbing the demand of transportations. So let's have a closer look on how different the amount of domestic fuel consumptions from the previous year, which is 2019. Here it is in 2019, we can see that the domestic fuel consumptions in Indonesia is in the level of 135,000 kiloliters. But however, based on the latest data in June 2020, the number only reached 117,000 kiloliters. From the previous year of 2019 to the 2020, we can assess that the number figure has given a figure of a 13% down. But when we talk about the June 2020 data, it reversed when the pause large-scale social restrictions happened. But meanwhile, when the earlier days, when the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic, when the large-scale social restrictions has happened in Indonesia, it went down almost 50 to 60%. And the financial report shows that the company booked 211.3 billion US dollar loss in the first half due to weakening rupiah exchange rate, which is Pertamina's oil import cost. So let's take a look on the next graphic about that. So here it is as one of the triple shock, which is the exchange currency. Pertamina's gain on foreign currency exchange, we can see in 2019. It is in the level of 64 million US dollar profit. Back again in 2019, Pertamina posted a good financial performance and it earned so much profit. And one of the profit gains from foreign currency exchange by 64 million US dollar. But however, it conversely turns into the negative side of 2020, whereas in the first half of 2019, Pertamina gained loss of 211 million US dollar loss based on the foreign currency exchange. And these loss of foreign currency exchange is because the depreciations of rupiah towards US dollars in the midst of pandemic. And however, Pertamina remains optimistic that until the end of the year, there will be positive trend so that Pertamina expects to see profits by year end. Considering that slowly global oil prices have started to rise, and once global crude oil benchmark price Brent dropped as low as $19.33 per barrel in April, as I mentioned before, but has rebounded again to 44.47 per barrel by this Monday, as Bloomberg data shows. And also fuel consumptions, both industry and retail, is also increasing due to the ease of current large-scale social restrictions. We hope Pertamina will soon get its recovery as soon as possible. And therefore, viewers, these are the market headlines, because we will be right back after this quick break.
Playbox, lebih dari sekedar Smart TV, more powerful. Nikmati lebih dari 5.000 aplikasi Android. 10.000 jam video on demand. Bisa nonton ulang hingga 7 hari ke belakang. Connect Vision Plus sekarang. Nonton dimanapun, kapanpun. Tinggal connect internet hanya 100 ribuan per bulan. Nikmati bonus hingga 1,2 juta rupiah. Playbox, Beyond Smart TV.
Bagaimana outlook UMKM di 2020 ini, Pak Leona?
Saya ingin mengajak terutama anak-anak muda bagaimana caranya supaya nantinya ini bisa berkooperasi dengan baik. Dan ini sudah dimulai.
Hello, I'm Clara Antawijaya. I'm associate producer and news presenter on Market Headlines. As Market Headlines starts at 4:30 p.m., which is in line with the closing market, therefore we summarize market conditions only for you. And my job in here as a journalist, I give concise and accurate news for the audience. And also, being a journalist is not only a job for me, but it is also a passion.
Aktivitas manufaktur China mengalami pertumbuhan tercepat pada Juni 2020 usai pemerintah melonggarkan kebijakan lockdown.
Rata-rata frekuensi harian di Bursa mencapai 469.000 transaksi dan menjadi yang tertinggi di kawasan Asia Tenggara.
Sementara itu, PT Garuda Indonesia Persero Tbk membukukan pendapatan turun 30,14% dibanding periode yang sama di tahun lalu.
Saya Prisa Sombo membawakan program berita News Screen yang menghadirkan informasi seputar ekonomi maupun juga bisnis dari dalam negeri.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. Let's deep dive into our today's market summary. First of all, let's take a look at Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. Earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 5,342, and then approaching the closing time in the first session, the index was down a little bit to the level of 5,332. Then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session's closing time, and in short, the index was closed at the level of 5,340. It means that JCI went up 0.03%. And next, we are going to see the sectoral movement. Here it is through your screen. We can see the leading of the dynamics of today's trading. We got agriculture as the leader of the strengthening trend that went up 1.02%. Infrastructure that went up 0.92%. And also the leader of the weakening trend. Here we got constructions that went down 0.69%, I beg your pardon, and also went down 0.46% for the trade. And here it is, we can see the movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So basically, rupiah opened at the level of 14,636. Rupiah was also showing strengthening trends toward US dollar and was closed at the level of 14,676. In summary, we can say that rupiah went down 0.21%. And yes, in the other hand, constructions company Wijaya Karya firmly postponed its subsidiary IPO plan, Wijaya Karya Realty. The company targets the IPO realizations of Wika Realty as early as next year or even in 2023.
Construction company Wijaya Karya firmly postponed its subsidiary IPO plan, Wijaya Karya Realty. Finance Director of Wijaya Karya, Ade Wahyu, explained that reason of IPO postponement is because currently the company is assigned the task of being the parent of the SOE subholding hospitality. Ade added that if the subholding has been completed, then the IPO plan from Wika Realty will be discussed again by the management. And as it known, Wijaya Karya Realty's plan to be able to raise funds in the capital market has long been echoed, with the initial target for this subsidiary to take the floor on the stock exchange in the first quarter of this year, and the targeted fresh funds from the corporation is 2.5 trillion rupiah. From Jakarta, Gilang Praditya for IDX Channel.
To maintain performance amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, Indo Tambang Raya Megah will review 2020 capital expenditure budget. At the same time, the company also implements efficiency to reduce expenses. According to President Director of Indo Tambang Raya Megah, Mulyanto, one of the company's strategies is to ensure the company's cash flow is at a good level. Therefore, the company is currently reviewing its capital expenditure, which was budgeted at $50 million at the beginning of the year. So far, the capital expenditure has been absorbed around $11 billion. Meanwhile, up to now, the company has also implemented many expense reductions program to maintain cash flow. The company also focuses on things that can raise production's results. And yes, viewers, step aside from the market conditions as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the graphic close of market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic business and capital market channel. I'm Clara Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
IDX Channel. Senang sekali saya Prisa Sombo kembali menjumpai Anda dalam Moment Stock, akan berbincang dengan sejumlah perempuan yang inspiratif di tanah air. Nah, Anda kaum hawa tentu tidak asing lagi dengan produk